In this tutorial, we'll look at how to create multi-level lookups in Excel. So we're going to use the concept of name ranges and a function called indirect to achieve this. We have a list here, produce type, produce description, and quantity, which we want our users to fill. So the produce type and produce description should be limited to this list here, this master table here. We have the produce type, there is fruits, vegetables, and greens. And for fruits, we have apple, orange, banana as the produce description, and vegetables, tomato, potato, and radish. For greens, spinach, and lettuce. So how do we limit users to select from this list, and how do we create a multi-level list? A multi-level list is nothing but first, once you select fruits, it's going to give you uh, three options: apples, orange, and banana in the produce description. So how do we achieve that? First is a concept called named ranges. Normally in formulas and wherever we have been using Excel ranges so far, we've been selecting a range as the column ID, row ID, using the column ID, row ID. For example, let's say I go here, I select this range. So you can see A2 colon D4. This is this range, but I also have the option to give this range a name. I can create something called a named range. To do that, let's select all of this. Go to formulas. There is something called a name manager. Here you can create names from selection. I'll say create from selection. So create names from values in the. So what is the name value? It is in the top row. We want to use these as our name value. Produce type, fruits, vegetables, and greens. Say okay. Now you can go to the name manager to look at the names. So against the name fruits, we have the range here, sheet 1, B2 to B4. B2 to B4 is getting reference, which is apple, orange, and banana. So you can see against greens is D2 to D4. Against produce type, it's A2 to A4. Against vegetables, it's C2 to C4. So this is what is getting listed. So we'll close it now. Now you can see how you can use this here. You can go here, equal to, you can say fruits, and fruits are getting inserted. All the fruits are getting inserted from the named range. Now you can also use the indirect function. Let's say I type fruits in this column. I can go here, I can say indirect, and I can say this is my reference text equal to. Now again, the list of fruits is getting populated. We're going to use both these concepts to create our drop downs here. Let's remove all of this. First, let's do the drop down for produce type. To do that, keep your cursor here. Go to the data menu, data tab. In the data tab, you have data tools here, in which you have data validation, which has a tick mark. Go to data validation. Now, there are three tabs in the data validation section. We have settings, input message, and error alert. So we'll focus on settings for now. So allow from list. So this means that only values in a list will be allowed in this cell. So what is the source of the list? The source of the list, to do this, we'll say equal to, and go to formulas here, and here the name range, whatever name range we created, we can use in a formula by saying we want to use produce type. So you can say equal to produce type. We'll say okay. Next, we want to drag it to, we can see, you see there are three values here: fruits, vegetables, and greens. We'll drag this to 10 rows or whatever. So till here we have it. So we'll highlight this with the color. We'll say now we're going to do the produce description. Again, we'll go to data, data validation. So allow, we don't want any value to be allowed. We want to limit it to a list. Here we are going to use the indirect function, which we saw earlier. We're going to say equal to indirect of E9. E9 is going to be produce type, which is being selected. Let's say this. We'll explore the other tabs. Input message. Now, once we try to go to the other tab, it says the source currently evaluates to an error. Do you want to continue? This message is because produce type we have not selected anything, and since we are using it here in our formulae, there is no name list. That's why this is saying this error. It's okay. We'll continue. It will get resolved automatically. We'll say yes. Now the input message is a small tooltip that will be visible to the user. We'll say input guidelines. The message will say please stick to values in the list. There is also an error alert. Yes, again. It says that do you want to show when the user enters invalid data, show this error alert. So we'll say stop. We'll say please limit to list. Here we'll say select a value from the list. We'll say okay. Again, it says yes. Say yes. Now you can see that our input guidelines is showing immediately. We'll copy this as well. Now we'll go here. We'll start filling this. Produce type fruits. We'll say apple. We'll try to enter a value. We'll say red. You can see select a value from the list. This is the error message. We'll say cancel. Here we have the input guidelines. Please stick to the values in the list. We'll say orange. Say quantity, maybe 25. Again, we'll come here. It'll say stick values in the list, but there are no values in this list. So first we need to go and select the produce type, potato. We'll say again 10. So that's about it. Hope this tutorial was useful. Please use the comments to share your feedback. Thank you.